there is a moment, just before you fall asleep, when you are both here and not here. When the room is still real, but something softer has already begun. What if, in that exact threshold, you could stay, aware, calm, and free inside a world your own mind is building? Tonight, we follow that question all the way down. Welcome to Sleepy Science. Wherever you are right now, perhaps lying in the quiet dark, your body already beginning its long surrender to the night, let yourself settle in completely. We will cross the threshold of 100 dream science facts about lucid dreaming. From the first flicker of awareness inside a sleeping mind, to the architecture of the dreaming brain, to the gentle, natural methods that make lucid dreaming available to anyone willing to simply pay attention. These quiet journeys through the science of the sleeping mind build something rare, a place where curiosity and rest belong together. A like, a subscribe, or a soft share helps another restless mind find their way here and brings us closer to keeping this peaceful space alive. One sleepy soul at a time. Settle deeper into wherever you are resting. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. You don't need to hold on to a single fact from tonight. Just feel that slow, warm heaviness beginning in your legs, your hands, the space behind your eyes, like the last pages of a book closing softly. Thought by thought, into the quiet that waits beneath everything. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You are floating where the border between waking and dreaming has no wall. Let your mind dissolve into the place where awareness becomes the dream itself. And now we begin. A lucid dream is a dream in which the dreamer knows they are dreaming. That simple sentence contains something genuinely unusual. Most of the time, when we dream, we are completely convinced the dream is real. The mind accepts every scene without question. The impossible becomes ordinary. The contradictory goes unnoticed. But in a lucid dream, something different happens. A small part of the brain wakes up inside the sleep. The dreamer becomes aware. And in that awareness, an entirely new kind of experience becomes possible. Scientists estimate that roughly 55% of people have had at least one lucid dream in their lifetime. A quiet reminder that this capacity is not rare. It is simply waiting. The term lucid dream was formally introduced into scientific language by the Dutch psychiatrist Frederik van Eeden in 1913. He had been carefully recording his own dreams for over 14 years and identified a distinct category he called lucid, from the Latin for clear. What Van Eeden documented across those years numbered precisely 352 lucid dreams, each noted for their unusual vividness, their narrative coherence, and the strange sensation of knowing, without doubt, that sleep had not ended. His work sat quietly at the edge of science for decades, acknowledged but largely unexplored. It would take another 60 years for a researcher to prove, in a laboratory, that Van Eeden had been describing something entirely real. The scientific verification of lucid dreaming came in 1975, when British psychologist Keith Hearne made a discovery that would reshape sleep science. Hearne knew that during REM sleep, the stage associated with vivid dreaming, the body is largely paralyzed, but the eyes still move. Working with a trained lucid dreamer named Alan Worsley, Hearn designed a simple signal. When Worsley became lucid inside a dream, he would move his eyes in a predetermined pattern, connected to an electroculograph, a device that records eye movement. Worsley sent exactly that signal on the morning of April 12, 1975. The eye movements appeared clearly on the recording paper. A person, fully asleep, had sent a deliberate message from inside a dream. It was the first time science had received a signal from the dreaming mind. The same discovery was made independently and more widely published by Stanford researcher Stephen LaBerge in the early 1980s. LaBerge developed the eye movement signaling protocol into a reliable research method and went on to spend decades studying lucid dreaming in laboratory settings. His work established that lucid dreaming is not a transitional state between sleep and waking. It is genuine REM sleep. The dreamer is not partially awake. They are fully asleep, breathing slowly, body at rest, brain generating one of its most complex and active states. The awareness, when it comes, arises entirely from within the dream. This distinction matters. Lucid dreaming is not a trick. It is a natural capacity of the sleeping brain. During a lucid dream, a specific region of the brain becomes unusually active. The prefrontal cortex, the area associated with self-awareness, rational thinking, and decision-making, typically quiets down during REM sleep. This is part of why ordinary dreams feel so convincing. The part of the brain that would notice something was wrong has stepped back. In a lucid dream, that region reactivates. Neuroimaging studies have shown increased activity in the prefrontal cortex during verified lucid dreams compared to non-lucid REM sleep. The brain is, in a sense, doing two things at once: maintaining the deep neural architecture of dreaming while simultaneously allowing a form of self-reflection. It is, scientifically speaking, one of the most elegant states the brain ever enters. Lucid dreaming occurs almost exclusively during REM sleep, which stands for rapid eye movement sleep. REM sleep is not evenly distributed across the night. It appears in cycles, roughly every 90 minutes, and the cycles grow longer as the night progresses. The first REM period of the night might last only 10 minutes. By the fourth or fifth cycle, in the early morning hours, REM periods can extend to 45 minutes or longer. This is why lucid dreams most commonly occur in the final hours of sleep, particularly between 5 and 8 in the morning. The conditions are simply more favorable. The cycles are longer, the brain is more active, and the threshold between awareness and dreaming becomes more permeable. Understanding this timing is one of the first natural keys to lucid dreaming. The brain, during REM sleep, is remarkably similar to the waking brain in terms of raw activity. Metabolic imaging studies show that overall brain glucose consumption during REM approaches waking levels, far higher than in deep, dreamless sleep. The visual cortex is especially active, generating the vivid imagery of dreams without any input from the eyes themselves. The motor cortex fires patterns associated with movement, but the body's muscles are held still by a dedicated neural circuit called REM atonia. The limbic system, home of emotion, runs hot. The dreaming brain is not resting. It is running a full simulation of experience, drawing on memory, emotion, and imagination to build a world that feels, in the moment, completely real. Frequency of lucid dreaming varies widely from person to person. Studies suggest that approximately 20% of people report having lucid dreams at least once a month. A smaller group, estimated at 1 to 3% of the general population, experience lucid dreaming several times per week, sometimes on a nightly basis. Researchers refer to these individuals as frequent lucid dreamers, and they tend to show consistent differences in waking brain activity, particularly elevated gamma wave activity in the frontal regions, the same regions that become active during a lucid dream itself. The implication is quiet and intriguing. The capacity for self-awareness during dreaming may be, at least in part, a trainable trait. The brain that practices noticing itself while awake may become more likely to notice itself while asleep. One of the most reliable natural pathways to lucid dreaming involves something called reality testing. The idea is simple. During waking hours, you periodically pause and genuinely ask yourself whether you are dreaming. You look at your hands. You check text on a page and look away and check again. In dreams, text tends to shift and blur. You press a finger against the palm of your other hand and notice whether it passes through, as it sometimes does in dreams. You count your fingers. These small checks, repeated consistently throughout the day, train the brain to perform the same check while dreaming. The habit of asking becomes embedded deeply enough that it begins to appear in sleep. The result, when it works, is a quiet moment of recognition inside a dream. This is not real. And then, it becomes something more. The science of habit formation helps explain why reality testing works. Research in cognitive neuroscience has shown that repeated behaviors gradually shift from requiring deliberate attention to becoming automatic, encoded in procedural memory and executed without conscious effort. When reality testing is practiced consistently over days and weeks, the checking behavior begins to occur without prompting. Dream researchers believe that when this automatized check fires during REM sleep, it can trigger the prefrontal reactivation associated with lucidity. In other words, the waking brain trains itself. The sleeping brain inherits the habit. So yes, the first natural method for lucid dreaming is already available tonight. Simply begin to ask. Another well-studied natural induction method is called MILD, which stands for Mnemonic Induction of Lucid Dreams. It was developed by Stephen LaBerge and involves a specific mental rehearsal process performed just before sleep. The dreamer recalls a recent dream as vividly as possible, then slowly and clearly forms the intention. The next time I am dreaming, I will recognize that I am dreaming. This intention is held gently but firmly, not forced. Simply stated, as the dreamer relaxes towards sleep. The word mnemonic refers to memory cues, and the technique works by planting a prospective memory, a future-directed reminder that is meant to fire not tomorrow morning, but inside the next dream. Research consistently supports MILD as one of the most effective natural induction techniques, particularly when practiced in the early morning hours. The early morning hours favor lucid dreaming for a specific neurological reason. As the night progresses, the brain's acetylcholine system, the neurotransmitter network most associated with REM sleep, becomes increasingly active. Acetylcholine drives REM generation and supports the vivid, narrative quality of late-night dreaming. It also appears to support memory consolidation and self-referential awareness. When MILD or other induction techniques are practiced during brief awakenings in the early morning, after 5 or 6 hours of sleep, the brain is already rich in acetylcholine. The conditions for both vivid dreaming and self-awareness within dreams are at their natural peak. Many experienced lucid dreamers describe this window as the place where the boundary between dream and awareness becomes most permeable. A closely related technique is called WILD, which stands for Wake-Initiated Lucid Dream. Unlike MILD, which involves falling asleep and hoping to become lucid within the dream, WILD involves maintaining a thread of conscious awareness directly through the transition from waking to dreaming. The practitioner lies completely still, relaxes deeply, and holds a quiet, watchful attention as the body falls asleep around them. Hypnagogic imagery, the visual and sensory patterns that occur at the edge of sleep, begins to appear. The challenge is to observe these without reacting, without following them into ordinary sleep. With patience, the imagery deepens and stabilizes, and the dreamer finds themselves standing in a dream they never lost awareness of entering. WILD requires practice, but it is entirely natural, requiring nothing beyond stillness and attention. Hypnagogia, the transitional state between waking and sleep, is itself a remarkable phenomenon. As the brain shifts from the alert, beta wave activity of waking into the relaxed alpha and early theta waves of sleep onset, sensory impressions begin to form without external input. People commonly report seeing geometric patterns, faces, landscapes, or brief scenes. Some hear sounds, voices, music, tones that seem to come from nowhere. Some feel sensations of floating, falling, or moving. These experiences are generated entirely by the brain, and they represent the first threads of the dreaming process becoming visible to a still conscious mind. Hypnagogia is the dreaming brain beginning to spin its world before sleep has fully closed the door. Sleep researchers have identified that hypnagogic experiences are neurologically distinct from both waking perception and full REM dreaming. Electroencephalography, or EEG, recordings show a characteristic mixture of alpha waves and early theta waves during hypnagogia, a blend found at no other point in the sleep cycle. The activity represents a genuine transitional neural state. Some researchers describe hypnagogia as a form of primary consciousness, raw, unfiltered, pre-narrative. It lacks the story structure of REM dreaming and the analytical filtering of waking thought. It is imagery and sensation, arising from within, before the dreaming brain has organized itself into a world. For those practicing WILD, this state is the threshold, the place where awareness, held lightly, can slip into a fully formed lucid dream. Dream journals are considered by nearly every lucid dreaming researcher to be one of the most foundational practices for developing natural lucid dreaming ability. The reason is straightforward. Most people forget the majority of their dreams within minutes of waking. Dreams dissolve fast. By keeping a journal, writing or speaking into a recorder immediately upon waking, the dreamer begins to build a record of their own dream patterns. Over time, recurring themes, settings, and characters emerge. These are called dream signs, personal markers that appear consistently in a given dreamer's sleep. Once identified, dream signs become powerful triggers for reality testing inside a dream. When you recognize a familiar place or person, the habit of checking whether you are dreaming has a specific target to attach to. The neuroscience of memory consolidation during sleep illuminates why dream journaling works at a deeper level. During sleep, the hippocampus, the brain's primary memory indexing structure, replays the day's experiences and transfers important information to long-term cortical storage. But this consolidation process is bidirectional. The brain is also encoding the emotional and narrative content of dreams themselves. Writing down a dream shortly after waking strengthens the neural traces associated with that dream. The dream becomes more retrievable. And a more accessible dream memory is a more useful one, available for pattern recognition, for the identification of dream signs, for the quiet noticing that eventually becomes lucidity. A dream journal is, in the most literal neurological sense, a training tool for the dreaming brain. There is a specific body of research examining the relationship between waking self-awareness and lucid dreaming frequency. Studies have found that individuals who score higher on measures of metacognition, awareness of one's own thinking processes, tend to report more frequent lucid dreams. The same pattern holds for measures of mindfulness. People who practice sustained, non-judgmental attention to present moment experience in their waking lives show increased rates of lucid dreaming. The connection is thought to reflect a common underlying capacity, the ability to observe experience rather than simply be absorbed by it. Mindfulness, practiced during the day, gradually teaches the mind a quality of watching. In sleep, that quality of watching does not entirely disappear. It waits, and sometimes it wakes. A meditation technique specifically relevant to lucid dreaming is the practice of sustaining awareness through all states: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. In certain contemplative traditions, this is considered a form of advanced practice, sometimes called dream yoga. Modern sleep researchers have studied practitioners of these traditions and found measurable differences in their sleep architecture. Experienced meditators show heightened gamma wave activity during sleep, the same high-frequency neural signature associated with lucid dreaming in non-meditating subjects. The brain, trained to maintain a quality of clear, open awareness during waking hours, appears to preserve elements of that quality even as it descends into sleep. The boundary between awareness and dreaming, for these practitioners, becomes genuinely thin. The role of intention in lucid dreaming deserves careful attention. because it is both well supported by evidence and easy to misunderstand. Setting an intention to become lucid is not the same as forcing the mind to perform. Research consistently shows that effortful, anxious attempts to induce lucid dreams often backfire. The tension itself disrupts the relaxed, flowing quality of REM sleep that allows lucidity to arise naturally. The intention that works is soft. It is stated clearly, held gently, and then released. Dream researchers describe it as similar to setting an alarm clock. You state the intention, you trust it, and then you let go. The mind receives the instruction. The sleeping brain, given the right conditions, does the rest. Body position during sleep may influence lucid dreaming in subtle ways. Several studies have examined whether sleeping on one's back, the supine position, increases both REM density and the likelihood of vivid, narrative dreams. The proposed mechanism involves the fact that the supine position may slightly increase the frequency of brief micro-awakenings during REM sleep, without fully disrupting the sleep cycle. These micro-awakenings, too brief to be consciously registered in most people, may provide the neural scaffolding for moments of awareness within the dream. Experienced lucid dreamers frequently report returning to sleep on their backs during morning practice sessions, not as a rigid rule, but as a gentle environmental support for the conditions they are trying to cultivate. The phenomenon of false awakenings is deeply intertwined with lucid dreaming and deserves its own consideration. A false awakening occurs when a dreamer dreams that they have woken up. The experience is convincing. The room looks right. The morning light is there. The familiar textures and sounds are present. Only gradually, if at all, does the dreamer notice that something is slightly off. Text is blurred. A detail is wrong. Time behaves strangely. For experienced lucid dreamers, false awakenings are both a challenge and an opportunity. They are a common point at which reality testing can break through, because the very act of believing you have woken up is itself a dreamlike pattern that a trained mind can begin to question. Research published in recent years has explored the relationship between sleep quality and lucid dreaming capacity. Chronic sleep deprivation, a condition affecting a significant portion of adults in industrialized countries, appears to reduce both REM sleep duration and the quality of dreaming overall. Conversely, sleep recovery following a period of deprivation produces what researchers call REM rebound. Extended, unusually vivid REM periods that sometimes include spontaneous lucid dreams. This finding has a practical implication. One of the most powerful things a person can do to support natural lucid dreaming is to consistently protect their sleep. Not as a technique, but as a foundation. The dreaming brain requires rest. It cannot offer its most nuanced states to a mind that has not been allowed to sleep. The specific hours of sleep matter not just for REM quantity, but for the richness of what dreaming produces. The dreams of the final sleep cycle tend to be qualitatively different from those earlier in the night. They are longer, more narratively complex, and more emotionally layered. The characters feel more real. The emotional textures run deeper. Self-referential awareness, the sense of observing one's own experience from within, tends to be more pronounced. These late-cycle dreams are precisely where lucid dreaming most often occurs in natural, laboratory-verified reports. Protecting the morning hours, allowing sleep to run its full course, is not a luxury. It is, for the developing lucid dreamer, part of the practice itself. Halfway through our first movement tonight, something is already emerging. Lucid dreaming is not a rare gift or an exotic technique. It is a natural capacity that exists in the sleeping brain of almost every human being, confirmed by decades of laboratory research, supported by our growing understanding of REM sleep, metacognition, and the habits of attention. The methods that reliably produce it: reality testing, de, dream journaling, mindfulness, gentle intention, require no equipment, no substances, no special conditions. They require only the willingness to pay attention, slowly and consistently, to the most intimate world any of us ever inhabit, the world the sleeping mind builds for itself, every single night. Let's pause here and notice your body. Every night, your sleeping brain begins this work without you. Trillions of cells settling into the oldest rhythm life knows: breathing, resting, dreaming. Notice the weight of your limbs, the warmth of the space around you. Your mind is already beginning its long preparation for the dream ahead. It knows what it is doing. You don't need to guide it. Simply feel yourself a little heavier, a little softer. We continue now. The WBTT technique, wake back to bed, is one of the most consistently supported natural lucid dreaming induction methods in the research literature. The method involves waking after approximately 5 to 6 hours of sleep, remaining awake for a short period, between 20 and 60 minutes, and then returning to sleep with the intention of lucid dreaming. The effectiveness of this approach is explained by REM architecture. The final cycles of sleep contain the longest and most vivid REM periods. By briefly waking during the night, then returning to sleep, the dreamer enters directly into extended REM, with an intention-primed and refreshed awareness. The brief waking period is the key. It resets the mind's capacity for noticing just enough to allow recognition when the dream begins. During the WBTT wake period, what the dreamer does matters. Research and extensive practitioner experience converge on the same recommendation. Use the wake period to read about lucid dreaming, to review dream journal entries, to practice MILD, or a gentle intention-setting exercise. The goal is to lightly activate the dreaming mind's awareness, without becoming so alert that returning to sleep becomes difficult. This is a narrow and pleasant band of activity. Calm engagement, not stimulation. Many experienced practitioners describe this period as one of the most peaceful parts of their night. A quiet, intentional pause in the middle of sleep, dedicated entirely to the practice of awareness. The role of the neurotransmitter acetylcholine in lucid dreaming has been a subject of ongoing research. Acetylcholine is released by neurons in the brainstem during REM sleep and is strongly associated with the generation and maintenance of the REM state. Studies examining substances that increase acetylcholine activity in the brain have found consistent increases in REM sleep intensity, dream vividness, and, in some subjects, spontaneous lucid dreaming. This finding points toward a natural corollary. Anything that supports the healthy functioning of the cholinergic system, adequate sleep, physical activity, social engagement, good nutrition, is also, in some indirect sense, supporting the dreaming brain. The conditions for vivid dreaming and the conditions for healthy sleep are largely the same conditions. Sleep researchers have examined whether certain foods consumed in the evening might influence dreaming. While the research remains limited and preliminary, some studies have found associations between evening consumption of foods containing tryptophan, an amino acid precursor to both serotonin and melatonin, and reports of more vivid or memorable dreams. Tryptophan is found in foods such as turkey, eggs, nuts, seeds, and certain dairy products. The proposed mechanism involves the serotonin pathway and its influence on REM regulation. These findings are best understood as gentle background factors rather than reliable techniques. The dreaming brain is complex, but the older intuition that what you eat in the evening touches the quality of your night has some modest biological foundation. Physical exercise has a well-documented positive effect on sleep architecture, including REM sleep. Studies consistently show that moderate aerobic exercise performed regularly, though not immediately before bed, increases total sleep time, reduces sleep onset latency, and enhances the depth of both slow-wave and REM sleep. The mechanisms involve temperature regulation, adenosine buildup, and the modulation of stress hormones. For the lucid dreamer, this matters because REM sleep quality is directly tied to dream, vividness, and complexity. A dreaming brain, supported by regular exercise, is a more capable dreaming brain, producing richer material, longer narrative sequences, and the neurological conditions in which self-awareness within dreams is more likely to emerge. Stress and anxiety are among the most significant disruptors of natural lucid dreaming capacity. Chronic stress elevates cortisol levels, which suppresses REM sleep. Anxiety increases the frequency of micro-awakenings during sleep, fragmenting the continuity of dream cycles. The dreams that do occur under conditions of high stress tend to be shorter, less coherent, and emotionally dysregulated, the opposite of the stable, clear, self-aware dream environment in which lucidity typically arises. This is not merely an interesting correlation. It is a reminder that the path to natural lucid dreaming runs directly through the conditions of a well-tended waking life. Sleep hygiene, stress management, and emotional regulation are not separate from the practice of lucid dreaming. They are foundational to it. There is a growing body of research examining lucid dreaming as a potential tool for addressing nightmares, particularly in the context of post-traumatic stress. Recurring nightmares are a common and distressing symptom of post-traumatic stress disorder, affecting a significant portion of people who have experienced psychological trauma. Several small clinical trials have found that individuals trained in lucid dreaming techniques report reduced nightmare frequency and distress. The proposed mechanism is intuitive. When a dreamer can recognize they are dreaming during a nightmare, they gain the capacity to respond differently, to alter the scenario, to face the threat with the knowledge that it is not real, or simply to choose to wake. Current guidelines in trauma psychology note these findings as promising, while calling for larger, more rigorous trials. The research is young, but the direction is encouraging. The question of what lucid dreamers can and cannot control inside a dream is more nuanced than popular accounts suggest. In a lucid dream, the dreamer is aware they are dreaming. But this awareness does not automatically confer omnipotent control. Research and detailed first-person reports from experienced lucid dreamers consistently describe a spectrum. Novice lucid dreamers often struggle to maintain the dream. Excitement or effort can cause the dream to destabilize or end. Experienced lucid dreamers develop a range of dream stabilization techniques: spinning in place, rubbing the hands together, focusing on tactile detail, that help maintain the REM state. Control, to the extent it exists, tends to emerge gradually, as a skill, through practice. And even experienced lucid dreamers report that the dream often surprises them. The instability that new lucid dreamers commonly experience, the dream dissolving when they become aware, has a neurological explanation. When the prefrontal cortex reactivates during a lucid dream, it can begin to activate the broader arousal systems associated with waking. If this activation spreads too quickly, REM, sleep breaks down and the dreamer wakes up. The techniques experienced lucid dreamers use to stabilize the dream: engaging with sensory detail, moving deliberately within the dream, speaking aloud, are thought to work by grounding the narrative processing of the dreaming brain, maintaining the balance between prefrontal awareness and the broader REM state. The goal is not to suppress the awareness, but to allow it to sit lightly within the dream without pulling the whole architecture down. Researchers have documented a phenomenon called pre-lucid dreaming, in which the dreamer comes very close to recognizing they are dreaming but does not quite cross the threshold. A person in a pre-lucid state might notice something unusual, a familiar place that looks subtly wrong, a person behaving in an impossible way, and feel a faint sense of questioning. But the full realization does not arrive. The narrative logic of the dream reasserts itself, and the moment passes. Pre-lucid dreaming is considered by most researchers to be a normal stage in the development of lucid dreaming ability. The questioning faculty is present. The habit of recognition is forming. With consistent practice, the moment of questioning deepens, holds, and eventually becomes the unmistakable recognition. I am dreaming. This is not real, and I am here. One of the most intriguing research directions in contemporary lucid dream science involves real-time communication between sleeping subjects and waking researchers, extending the original LaBerge eye movement protocol into something more sophisticated. In 2021, a multi-laboratory study published in the journal Current Biology demonstrated that sleeping participants could receive simple questions, delivered either verbally or through tapping, and respond with eye movements or facial muscle signals while remaining in confirmed REM sleep. Participants answered yes or no questions, performed basic arithmetic, and identified objects described to them. The accuracy rate was modest but statistically robust. This research established, for the first time, a genuine bidirectional communication channel with the dreaming mind, opening quiet and genuine questions about the nature of consciousness and the boundaries of waking experience. The 2021 interactive dreaming study involved participants in 4 different countries. The 4 laboratories were located in the United States, France, Germany, and the Netherlands, each using a different method to deliver questions to sleeping participants. Some used spoken words, others used tapping patterns, one used flashing light signals. The consistency of results across such different approaches added weight to the findings as a whole. The diversity of methods, rather than undermining the study, helped demonstrate that the ability to receive and respond to information while remaining in confirmed REM sleep appears to be a genuine and reproducible feature of the lucid dreaming state. Researchers involved in the study described it as establishing a new field they called interactive dreaming, a space where sleeping and waking minds can, carefully and gently, meet. Building on the 2021 findings, subsequent research groups have been developing wearable devices capable of detecting REM sleep and delivering targeted cues during the lucid phase. Gentle audio tones, mild haptic vibrations, or light patterns to help stabilize and extend the lucid dreaming state. These devices represent a technological approach to supporting natural capacity rather than replacing it. The dream itself, the awareness within it, and the neurological architecture that generates it remain entirely the sleeper's own. The devices function more like a quiet assistant, noticing that the dreaming mind is active and offering a gentle signal to remind it to stay. The field is young, but the direction it points toward is one in which the natural capacity for lucid dreaming becomes more consistently accessible to more people. Personality research has identified several traits associated with higher rates of spontaneous lucid dreaming. Individuals who score high on measures of absorption, the ability to become deeply and completely engaged with imaginative experiences, tend to report more frequent lucid dreams. So do individuals who score high on openness to experience. One of the 5 major dimensions of personality in psychological research: creative engagement, a rich inner imaginative life, and a tendency toward reflective self-awareness all appear as mild but consistent predictors of natural lucid dreaming frequency. These correlations suggest that lucid dreaming, far from being a separate, unusual skill, is continuous with qualities of mind that many people already carry, simply waiting for the right conditions to emerge in sleep. We have now traveled through the foundations and the evidence for natural lucid dreaming. What is becoming clear is this: lucid dreaming is not something done to the sleeping mind. It is something cultivated in relationship with it. The brain that learns to watch itself gently during waking hours, through mindfulness, reality testing, dream journaling, intention, gradually carries that quality of watching into sleep. Not by force, not by anxiety, but by patient, consistent, curious attention. The science supports this picture completely. And in the early morning hours, when REM is at its fullest and the dreaming brain is spinning its most vivid worlds, that quiet watching finds its opportunity, and the dream becomes transparent, and awareness blooms inside it. Like a candle lit in a familiar room. Take a slow breath. Notice how your body has grown a little softer since we began. We are traveling through the science of dreaming together. You and everyone else lying quietly in the dark tonight. There is no rush. Just the gentle pull of curiosity, carrying us forward through the night. Let's continue. The question of what lucid dreamers actually do with their awareness inside a dream is one that researchers have explored through detailed surveys and experience sampling methods. Common uses include flying, reported in the majority of accounts from first-time lucid dreamers, as well as exploring the dream environment, interacting with dream characters, and seeking out specific experiences chosen before sleep. But as practitioners develop skill and consistency, many describe a shift in motivation. The novelty of control fades. What remains is something quieter. Curiosity. What is this place? Who are these characters? What does this dream want to show? Experienced lucid dreamers often describe moving from directorial control toward a more receptive, exploratory relationship with the dream, listening as much as acting. Research has examined whether skills practiced in lucid dreams transfer to waking performance. The evidence is modest, but genuinely interesting. Several studies have found that practicing a motor skill in a lucid dream, a musical scale, a dance movement, a sport technique, produces measurable improvement in waking performance. The effect is smaller than that produced by equivalent waking practice, but it is present. The proposed mechanism involves the fact that the motor cortex, though the body is paralyzed during REM sleep, fires activation patterns corresponding to the imagined movements. The neural pathways used for the skill are being rehearsed within the dream, with the full vividness and proprioceptive feedback that the dreaming brain provides. The dream becomes, in a limited but real sense, a training ground. Lucid dreaming has been explored as a potential resource for creative problem-solving. Several historical accounts describe artists and scientists reporting insights that emerged during dreaming. The structure of benzene, the melody of a composition, the solution to a mathematical problem. While these accounts are anecdotal and impossible to verify with precision, contemporary research has begun to examine the mechanisms that might support them. During REM sleep, the brain forms associations between distantly related concepts with unusual freedom. The logical constraints of waking thought relax. Patterns emerge across wide spans of memory. A lucid dreamer, aware within this associative space, can potentially direct attention toward a specific problem and observe what the dreaming brain produces, without the normal filters of waking cognition in place. Emotional processing is one of the most significant functions of REM sleep, and lucid dreaming intersects with this function in ways researchers are still beginning to understand. During REM sleep, the amygdala, the brain's primary emotional processing center, is highly active, and emotional memories from the preceding days are replayed, processed, and gradually integrated into the broader narrative of autobiographical memory. This process is thought to reduce the emotional charge of difficult experiences over time. In a lucid dream, where the dreamer can consciously choose to engage with emotionally significant content, to approach a feared scenario, to revisit a difficult memory, to speak with a dream figure representing a relationship. The intersection of conscious awareness and emotional processing creates a potentially meaningful space. Researchers emphasize that this is not therapy, but they acknowledge that it may be therapeutic. A phenomenon called the default mode network plays an interesting role in dreaming and lucid dreaming. The default mode network is a set of interconnected brain regions, including the medial prefrontal cortex, the posterior cingulate cortex, and the angular gyrus, that becomes active when the mind is not engaged in specific external tasks. It is associated with self-referential thought, autobiographical memory, and imaginative simulation of future events. During ordinary REM sleep, the default mode network is highly active, consistent with the self-narrative quality of dreams. During lucid dreaming, additional executive regions activate alongside it. Researchers describe the lucid dream state as a unique condition in which the default mode network, the dreaming, self-generating mind, becomes observable to itself. Children experience lucid dreaming at higher rates than adults. Studies have found that the frequency of spontaneous lucid dreams peaks in late childhood and early adolescence, then gradually declines through adulthood in most people. The reasons are not fully established, but several factors likely contribute. Children spend more total time in REM sleep. They tend to have richer, more elaborate dream lives overall, and they may not yet have developed the habitual conviction, so common in adults, that dreams are simply noise to be forgotten. Children approach their dreams with genuine interest. They talk about them. They remember them. They return to them. This relationship with the dreaming mind is itself, the research suggests, part of what keeps lucid dreaming alive. The phenomenon of shared dreaming. Two people dreaming of the same content on the same night has occasionally been reported in the context of lucid dreaming research. These claims are anecdotal and have not been reproduced in controlled laboratory conditions. Current neuroscience has no mechanism by which the content of one person's dream could be transmitted to another. Researchers approach such reports with respectful skepticism, noting that coincidental overlap in dream content, the tendency of close relationships to produce shared preoccupations, and the reconstructive nature of dream memory can all produce the impression of sharing without the reality. What remains true, and is well supported by evidence, is that the dreaming brain is a private world, uniquely generated, uniquely inhabited. Research into sleep disorders has illuminated the lucid dreaming experience from an unexpected angle. People with narcolepsy, a neurological condition affecting the regulation of sleep-wake transitions, report strikingly high rates of spontaneous lucid dreaming, as well as unusually vivid hypnagogic experiences and a phenomenon called sleep paralysis with hypnagogic hallucinations. The neurological overlap is revealing. In narcolepsy, REM sleep intrudes into waking more frequently and dramatically than in the general population. The boundary between sleep states is genuinely more permeable. For these individuals, experiences that most people encounter only rarely, the transitional zone between sleep and waking, the vivid awareness of the dreaming state, are a regular part of life. Their experience offers a window into the neurology of dreaming that researchers have found genuinely informative. Sleep paralysis, which can occur in both narcolepsy and the general population, is often described as frightening. A temporary inability to move upon waking, sometimes accompanied by vivid, sometimes disturbing hallucinations. But sleep researchers emphasize that sleep paralysis is neurologically benign. It occurs when the atonia of REM sleep, the muscular paralysis that prevents acting out dreams, persists briefly into the waking state. The hallucinations, when present, are hypnopompic imagery, the dreaming brain's residual activity, still generating experience as waking begins. For those who approach sleep paralysis with curiosity rather than fear, observing the imagery, breathing calmly, allowing the state to pass naturally, it can become, over time, a gateway to WILD and the lucid dreaming state. Halfway through our journey tonight, something has quietly taken shape. Natural lucid dreaming is not a single technique or a single night's experiment. It is a relationship with the dreaming mind, developed through attention, through practice, through the patient accumulation of awareness across waking and sleeping hours. The science is clear. The capacity is real. It is neurologically verified, and it is natural. The methods that support it are gentle. They ask nothing extraordinary, only that you begin to take your dreams seriously, to notice the patterns they contain, to hold your intentions lightly before the night begins, and to trust that the dreaming brain, given the right conditions and the gentlest of invitations, will find its own way to waking inside the dream. And here, at the halfway point, let yourself rest in something simple. Your mind is, right now, doing something it has done every night of your life without being asked. It is preparing to dream. The architecture is already building. The themes and images of your particular inner world are already assembling. Every breath you take is bringing you closer to the place where awareness and dreaming meet. You don't need to do anything with that. Just let it be. And we continue our drift. The architecture of the lucid dream has been described in remarkably consistent ways across cultures, centuries, and individuals who have never encountered each other's accounts. The sensation of entering a dream with awareness, the unusual clarity of the environment, the quality of light, the sense that the dreaming brain has generated something indistinguishable from reality, and yet recognized as dream. These consistencies point towards something structural in how the human brain generates dreaming experience. The phenomenology is not random. It reflects the underlying neurology, the visual cortex generating light and color, the limbic system generating emotion and atmosphere, the narrative structures of the temporal lobe weaving the setting and its inhabitants into coherent experience. Dream characters in lucid dreams are generated entirely by the dreaming brain, yet they often behave with apparent independence. They pursue their own agendas. They respond unexpectedly. They sometimes seem to possess knowledge the dreamer does not consciously hold. Researchers describe dream characters as autonomous-seeming constructions, productions of the unconscious aspects of the dreaming brain, running in parallel with the aware dreamer. In some accounts, experienced lucid dreamers describe conversations with dream characters as remarkably revealing, as if speaking to parts of themselves they do not normally access. Whether this represents genuine unconscious communication or simply the brain's narrative systems running their normal generative processes is an open question. But the experience of these characters as distinct, purposeful, and sometimes gently surprising is near universal among lucid dreamers. The dreaming brain shows remarkable creativity. Research examining the generative content of dreams has found that dreams regularly produce novel combinations of experience. Settings that do not exist. Faces that have never been seen. Conversations that could not have been predicted. The dreaming brain is not simply replaying memory. It is assembling memory into new configurations, driven by emotional salience, associative pattern, and the particular narrative tendencies of the individual dreamer. This creative generation is available to the lucid dreamer in a unique way. Aware of the dream's nature, the dreamer can observe the creative process from the inside. The mind, watching its own dreaming, becomes witness to a form of generation that waking thought rarely approaches. The sense of time in a lucid dream is different from waking. Research subjects report that dream time and real time are roughly comparable. A dream that feels like an hour does not typically unfold in a few seconds of real-world time. Studies using the eye movement signal protocol have confirmed this. When lucid dreamers are asked to estimate intervals of 10 or 30 seconds within a dream, their estimates are reasonably accurate. Though slightly longer than actual elapsed time, the dreaming brain's sense of duration is not wildly distorted, but it is softened. There is a quality of elasticity to dream time that many lucid dreamers describe as one of its most peaceful aspects. Time flows, but does not press. The body in a lucid dream feels real. Touch, temperature, texture, the sensation of movement, all are generated by the dreaming brain with the full apparatus of somatosensory experience. Research confirms that the brain regions responsible for proprioception and tactile sensation are active during REM sleep. A lucid dreamer who reaches out and touches a surface in a dream is activating real neural pathways. The experience is not a diminished copy of sensation, but a genuine neural event, generated internally. This is one reason why the stabilization techniques, rubbing the hands together, pressing feet against the dream ground, picking up and examining objects, are so effective. They engage the somatosensory system fully, grounding the dreamer in the neural reality of the dream. Light behaves differently in dreams than in waking life. Many lucid dreamers report that dream environments have a distinctive quality of illumination, a soft, sourceless light that does not follow normal rules of shadow and direction. Some describe a luminescence that seems to emanate from the scene itself rather than from any identifiable source. This observation aligns with what we know about the dreaming brain's visual generation. The visual cortex constructs the dream image from the inside, drawing on stored visual memories and generative processes rather than photons arriving at the retina. In a sense that feels both scientific and quietly poetic, the light in a dream is not reflected. It is remembered and invented. Its softness, its strangeness, may be the signature of that inward generation, the brain's own approximation of illumination, assembled from memory alone. The content of lucid dreams is influenced by what the dreamer focuses on before sleep. Research and extensive practitioner experience converge on this point. The dreamer who reads about flying before sleep is more likely to dream of flying. The dreamer who reviews a memory of a loved place before sleep is more likely to find that place waiting in the dream. This influence is not total. The dreaming brain maintains its own generative momentum, its own associative tendencies, its own unexpected elaborations. But the seed planted in the mind before sleep has a genuine probability of taking root. This is one reason why the period just before sleep, the reading of the dream journal, the quiet holding of an intention, the gentle imagination of a desired dream scenario, is treated by experienced lucid dreamers as among the most important of the practice. Research has found that lucid dreamers show a characteristic pattern during transitions between dream scenes. In ordinary dreaming, scene transitions often occur with no awareness. The dreamer simply finds themselves in a different place, accepting the change without question. In a lucid dream, scene transitions are sometimes noticed and can be navigated consciously. The dreamer might choose to walk through a door, to spin, to allow the scene to dissolve and reform around a chosen destination. These navigational choices engage the prefrontal regions specifically, the dreaming brain's executive capacity briefly directing the generative process. Researchers describe this as one of the clearest demonstrations that lucid dreaming involves genuine, meaningful activation of the will within the dream state, not simply an awareness sitting passively alongside the dream. The philosophical implications of lucid dreaming are quiet but worth considering. In a lucid dream, the dreamer experiences a world that is entirely generated by their own mind and knows it. The environment is convincing. The sensations are real. The characters respond and surprise. And yet the dreamer is aware that none of it exists outside the dreaming brain. This is not a common configuration for human experience. Normally, we move through a world we did not generate, navigating reality that exists independently of our perception. In a lucid dream, that relationship inverts. The world exists because the mind is generating it. A question quietly surfaces, and it is worth holding gently, not answering. What might this tell us about the way waking perception also assembles its world? This remains a philosophical inquiry, not a scientific conclusion. But it is one many dreamers find they cannot quite set down. The practice of treating the dream environment as worthy of genuine curiosity, rather than as a space to be controlled or directed, is one that many experienced lucid dreamers describe as transformative. When the dreamer stops trying to impose a script and instead begins to ask questions of the dream. Who are you? What is this place? What are you showing me? The dream often responds with images and scenarios of surprising depth. Whether this represents genuine unconscious communication, the generative richness of the dreaming brain running unconstrained, or something else entirely, is not resolved by current science. What is consistently reported is that the quality of the experience shifts from performance to encounter, from direction to discovery. The dream becomes, in these moments, less like a production and more like a conversation. Cultural attitudes toward dreams shape whether and how people engage with lucid dreaming. In many indigenous and traditional cultures, dreams have been treated as significant, as massage, as guidance, as contact with dimensions of experience beyond ordinary waking life. Practices involving intentional dream engagement, preparation before sleep, reflection upon waking, communal sharing of dream content, have been documented across cultures on every inhabited continent. Western industrialized culture has largely treated dreams as byproducts of brain activity without inherent significance. The re-emergence of scientific interest in lucid dreaming represents, in part, a return of attention to a domain of human experience that has always mattered to human beings, now examined through the lens of neuroscience. With instruments that can watch the dreaming brain from the outside, the relationship between lucid dreaming and waking imagination has been explored in research examining the neural overlap between these two states. Brain imaging studies have found that voluntary mental imagery in waking, deliberately imagining a scene in detail, activates a subset of the same visual cortex regions that are active during dreaming. The overlap is partial, not complete. Dreaming generates richer, more sensory complete experience than most waking imagination. But the neural territory is shared. This finding suggests that the capacity for vivid internal imagery, the ability to generate detailed, inhabited mental scenes, is a genuine predictor of dreaming intensity. And it suggests that practices which develop this capacity in waking hours, meditation, visualization exercises, immersive reading, may also, over time, enrich the dreaming world. The phenomenon of recurring dreams offers an entry point to lucid dreaming that researchers have found worth exploring. Recurring dreams. Dreams with consistent content, characters, or scenarios that appear across multiple nights or over years, are among the most emotionally salient dream experiences. They carry weight. They are remembered. And precisely because they are familiar, they represent potential dream signs of unusual reliability. A dreamer who recognizes the pattern of a recurring dream while inside it. This has happened before. I know this place. Is already performing the cognitive operation that produces lucidity. Training this recognition, including through dream journaling and the deliberate examination of recurring themes, turns the most persistent dreams into the most reliable doorways. Research on the neuroscience of insight, the arrival of a solution or understanding, has found interesting parallels with the lucid dreaming state. Both involve a characteristic pattern of neural activity in which widely separated brain regions suddenly synchronize, producing a brief burst of high-frequency gamma oscillations. In waking insight, this pattern is associated with the integration of previously unconnected information into a new coherent structure. In lucid dreaming, similar gamma synchronization has been recorded in the prefrontal regions during the onset of lucidity. The parallel is not coincidental. Both states involve a form of broad integration, different pieces of neural processing briefly recognizing each other. The lucid moment, neurologically, looks something like waking up inside a long question and finding the answer already there. We are now past the midpoint of our journey. The answer to the question this video asks, how to lucid dream naturally, has been building slowly across these 65 facts. It is not a single technique. It is a way of relating to the sleeping mind. Reality testing, dream journaling, MILD, and the early morning WBTT window. Mindfulness and the development of metacognitive awareness. The protection of adequate sleep. The support of consistent rhythms. The gentle planting of intentions before the night begins. None of these require effort. All of them require patience. And what they collectively produce, when practiced with consistency and curiosity, is a dreaming mind that gradually learns to see itself. Slowly, gently, and, when it is ready, unmistakably. The question of whether anyone can learn to lucid dream naturally is one researchers answer with qualified optimism. Controlled training studies, in which participants are given standardized instruction in techniques such as reality testing and MILD, consistently show significant increases in self-reported lucid dreaming frequency over periods of 4 to 8 weeks. Not everyone achieves lucid dreams during the study period, but a meaningful proportion. Typically, between 30 and 60% of participants report at least one verified lucid dream following training, compared to much lower rates in untrained control groups. The implication is that natural lucid dreaming ability, while variable across individuals, is genuinely trainable for most people. The question is not whether it can be learned. It is how consistently the practice is maintained. There is something worth saying quietly about the expectation with which lucid dreaming is approached. Popular culture sometimes presents it as a gateway to unlimited experience, a place where any desire can be fulfilled, any scenario enacted. Research and practitioner accounts tell a more measured story. Lucid dreaming is remarkable, but it is also fragile. It requires a particular quality of mental attitude: alert but relaxed, aware but not grasping, present but not effortful. The dreamer who enters a lucid dream with urgent expectations often finds the dream destabilizing. The effort itself collapses the delicate balance. The dreamer who enters with simple curiosity, with openness, with a willingness to receive whatever the dreaming mind offers, finds the dream more stable, more coherent, and more genuinely surprising than any expectation could have prepared them for. Lucid dreaming and mindfulness meditation share a common core: the cultivation of present moment awareness without reaction. In both practices, the goal is not to control experience, but to observe it with clarity and equanimity. Research comparing meditators and non-meditators has consistently found higher rates of lucid dreaming in meditating populations, not as a side effect, but as a natural expression of the awareness that meditation develops. Some meditation traditions explicitly include lucid dreaming within their framework of practice, treating the capacity to remain aware through sleep as a deepening of the same attention cultivated on the cushion. Whether approached from a contemplative or a scientific direction, the destination is the same: a mind that can be present without being swept away. The experience of waking from a lucid dream is distinct from waking from ordinary dreaming. Many practitioners describe a period of unusual clarity immediately upon waking from a lucid dream, a sense of having been somewhere real, of carrying something back. The clarity of the lucid dream, its vividness, its narrative coherence, the self-awareness it contained. tends to leave a stronger memory trace than ordinary dreaming. This is consistent with the neurological profile. The prefrontal activation of a lucid dream produces conditions more similar to waking encoding than ordinary REM sleep. The dreamer wakes not from a fog, but from a clear and vivid place, with the experience already organized into retrievable memory. This is one reason why lucid dream journaling produces such rich material. The dreams it captures are already well formed when the pen first touches the page. There is no evidence that lucid dreaming is harmful to sleep quality when practiced naturally. Studies examining the sleep architecture of regular lucid dreamers find no significant differences from non-lucid dreamers in measures of total sleep time, slow-wave sleep depth, or daytime functioning. The concern, occasionally raised, that maintaining awareness during sleep interferes with sleep's restorative functions, is not supported by current evidence. The prefrontal activation of a lucid dream is brief and focal, affecting a portion of REM sleep without disrupting the broader architecture of the sleep cycle. For most people, practicing natural lucid dreaming techniques supports, rather than undermines, their relationship with sleep. By giving the practice of sleeping itself a quality of purposeful attention it often lacks. The question of whether dreaming has a biological purpose is one that sleep researchers continue to actively investigate. Several theories have been proposed. Dreaming as threat simulation, preparing the dreaming brain to respond to danger. Dreaming as emotional regulation, processing the charged experiences of waking life. Dreaming as memory consolidation, integrating new information into long-term neural structures. Dreaming as creative synthesis, forming novel associations across the stored material of the mind. Current evidence suggests that all of these processes occur during REM sleep, and that dreaming, the subjective experience of this neural activity, is not a mere byproduct, but an integral feature of how the sleeping brain serves the waking person. Dreams are not noise. They are, in their own deep logic, the night's work. The quality of the waking life directly shapes the quality of the dreaming life in ways that are both neurologically and experientially true. The emotions of the day enter the night. The questions carried into sleep find their way into the dream. The relationships and preoccupations and unresolved encounters of waking hours are taken up by the dreaming brain and examined, elaborated, and sometimes resolved in ways the waking mind did not manage. This is what we would expect from what we know about REM sleep's role in emotional processing and memory integration. And for the lucid dreamer, it has a practical implication. The quality of attention brought to waking life, the noticing, the curiosity, the gentleness, is also the practice. Research has found that the frequency of lucid dreaming tends to decrease during periods of high stress, not simply because sleep quality deteriorates, but because the metacognitive awareness required for lucidity is itself reduced under stress. Stress narrows attention. It reduces the capacity for open, reflective observation that underlies both mindfulness and lucid dreaming. Conversely, periods of calm, consistent routine, regular sleep, and sustained contemplative practice tend to produce increases in spontaneous lucid dream frequency. This suggests that the practice of lucid dreaming is, in a deep sense, a practice of psychological well-being, and that the conditions which support it are the same conditions that support the waking mind at its most clear and its most at ease. There is a particular beauty in the fact that the most reliable path to lucid dreaming involves nothing more exotic than becoming more fully present in ordinary waking life. The reality check. Pausing to genuinely ask whether you are dreaming is an act of presence. It asks the waking mind to stop and actually look at its experience, rather than moving through it on autopilot. The dream journal. Sitting in the morning with a fresh memory and writing it honestly is an act of intimacy with the inner world. Minsle, holding an intention gently before sleep, is an act of trust in the sleeping mind. These practices are not techniques for manipulating consciousness. They are invitations to notice it. And that noticing, carried consistently from waking into sleep, is what lucid dreaming, at its simplest and most honest, actually is. By this point in our journey, the intellectual answer is clear. Lucid dreaming, naturally, is not about tricks or shortcuts. It is about the patient, consistent development of self-awareness, a quality that manifests in waking attention, in the keeping of a dream journal, in the practice of reality testing, in the soft holding of an intention before sleep. The science confirms every part of this picture. The neuroscience of REM sleep, the research into metacognition and mindfulness, the laboratory studies of induction techniques, the 21st century work on interactive dreaming. All of it points toward the same conclusion. The sleeping mind is capable of awareness, and that awareness is available to anyone who learns to approach their dreams with the simple, patient quality of genuine curiosity. You might be feeling tired now. That's exactly right. Let yourself go a little heavier. Think about the dreaming brain you carry. It has done this every single night of your life. Built worlds, played out emotions, assembled the fragments of your days into something it alone understands. Tonight, you've traveled through its science. And now, as we approach the final stretch, let your awareness soften. You don't need to hold any of this. The dreaming mind will find its own way tonight. It always does. Simply let everything unfold as it knows how. We're almost there. There is a moment in every night when the waking mind finally stops its work. Thoughts thin out like mist at the edge of water. The room grows quiet in a different way. Not the quiet of absence, but of settling. This is not the end of something. It is the beginning of the night's deepest intelligence. The dreaming brain has been waiting patiently for exactly this moment. And now, gently, it takes over. It knows what it needs to do. Sleep does not arrive all at once. It comes in layers. First, the body, then the busy surface of thought, then something deeper still. Each layer released is a small act of trust. The mind learning, again, that it is safe to let go. Each small release is also a gift to the brain that will dream tonight, and to the person who will wake tomorrow, softer and more rested than they were. Every night you dream, whether you remember it or not. Your brain has never missed a night, even in the most difficult seasons. The dreaming continued, quiet, patient, doing its work in the dark while you slept through it. The capacity is always there. It does not require anything of you tonight except this: to rest and to allow it. The science of sleep is relatively young. For most of human history, dreams were understood through story, through symbol, through the accumulated wisdom of the cultures that took them seriously. Modern neuroscience has confirmed what those traditions intuited: that the night is not empty, that what happens in sleep matters, that the dreaming mind is doing something real. A lucid dream remembered in the morning is, in some sense, a completed thing. It began in sleep, unfolded in the dreaming brain, was held in awareness, and was carried back across the border of waking. It became a memory, and memories, however quietly, shape us, layering themselves into who we are, over years and nights, one dream at a time. Gamma waves, the highest frequency brain oscillations measured by EEG, appear briefly at the onset of lucid awareness within a dream. The same waves appear at the onset of insight during waking life. Something in the brain, it seems, uses the same signal to mark the moment of recognition, whether that recognition occurs in the light of day or in the deep quiet of a dream. The eyes move during REM sleep because they are following the dream. The dreaming visual system is active, not idle, not restoring, but watching a world it is simultaneously creating. The gaze moves through dream space as naturally as it moves through a room. The dream, to the eyes, is a place, a real and inhabited place, built entirely from within. Natural lucid dreaming asks very little. A journal on the bedside table, a moment each morning to write down what the night offered, a habit of pausing, briefly, to genuinely ask, a soft intention held before sleep, then gently released. These are small things, but in the quiet architecture of the sleeping mind, small things, repeated with care and patience, become the conditions for something rare and beautiful. The brain, during deep, dreamless sleep, does something that seems like stillness, but is, in fact, essential repair. It runs slow waves, delta waves, that wash through the cortex in long, sweeping rhythms. These waves drive the transfer of memory from temporary to permanent storage. Without this quiet interval, the day's experiences do not consolidate. The brain needs this deep rest as much as it needs the dreaming that follows it. Fear of the dark is one of the oldest human experiences. But the darkness inside a lucid dream is not threatening. It is generative. It is the raw material from which the dreaming brain constructs entire worlds. The darkness before the dream begins is the silence before the first note. It is the space where everything is still possible. Many experienced lucid dreamers describe a quality of the lucid dream that they find difficult to name in ordinary language. It is not simply vivid. It is not simply controlled. There is something about the full presence of awareness within a dream that feels, they say, unusually complete, as if the ordinary fragmentation of waking experience has, for the moment, resolved into something whole. Whether this is a feature of the lucid state itself or simply the rarity of its conditions, the accounts share a quality of quiet wonder worth holding gently as we move towards sleep. The dreaming brain does not distinguish clearly between what has happened and what has been vividly imagined. A dream of flying and a memory of walking share the same neural architecture. They are processed by the same systems, stored in adjacent territory, retrieved through the same pathways. The line between lived experience and dreaming is, at the level of the brain, genuinely soft and permeable. And that softness is part of what makes the dreaming world so rich. There is a practice some lucid dreamers develop over time: the habit of waking gently. Rather than rising sharply from sleep, alert and purposeful, they allow the transition to be slow. They lie still for a moment. They let the dream linger. They notice what remains before the day begins. In that stillness, the dream gives back something it was carrying: an image, a feeling, a question that the waking mind did not know it had been asking. The lucid dreaming state is not a state of dominance over the dream. It is a state of relationship with it. The dream continues to generate, to offer, to redirect, to gently surprise. The dreamer, aware within it, becomes a participant rather than a passive witness. Something between the dream's momentum and the dreamer's awareness determines what happens next. In this way, a lucid dream may be the most intimate form of collaboration the mind ever undertakes, entirely with itself. So how does one lucid dream naturally? The answer, carried across this long and quiet night, is by becoming the kind of person who takes their dreaming seriously, who writes down what the night offers, who pauses during the day to notice, who sets a soft intention before sleep and trusts the sleeping brain to receive it. The science simply confirms what the practice already knows: that attention, brought gently and consistently to the dreaming life, changes it from the inside out. The night has its own intelligence. Sleep has its own purposes. The dreaming brain does not need to be managed. It needs to be trusted. Given the right conditions: rest, rhythm, attention, intention, it finds its own way toward awareness. Lucid dreaming is not forced. It arrives. It is recognized. It is received. Every human brain alive tonight will dream. Most will not remember it. Some will notice, in the morning, a faint residue, an image, a mood, a question that seems to have no source. These are the traces of a world that existed fully while the body slept. A world worth returning to, gently, with curiosity, night after night. The practice of lucid dreaming, sustained over months, does something to the waking mind as well. Practitioners frequently report increased attention to the quality of their own experience during the day, a greater tendency to notice when they are on autopilot, a gentler curiosity about what is actually present. The habits of awareness built in service of the dream begin to color the waking hours too. This is not a side effect. It may be the deepest purpose of the practice. The sleeping brain and the waking brain are not separate systems with separate concerns. They are one continuous brain, cycling through different states, serving a single life. What is attended to during the day enters the night. What is processed during the night shapes the day. The practice of natural lucid dreaming honors this continuity, treating waking and sleeping not as opposites, but as two phases of the same unfolding intelligence. There is a door inside the sleeping mind. Most nights it is there, and it is passed without noticing. The dreaming brain opens it, walks through, builds a world on the other side, and dismantles it before morning. With patience and practice, the dreamer learns to notice the door, then to pause before it, and then, one quiet morning, to walk through it aware, and find the dream waiting, and the mind awake inside it, and the night full of something it has always been capable of. You have, somewhere in the archive of your sleeping life, already had a dream so vivid it felt more real than a memory. Already had a moment of questioning. This seems familiar. This seems different. This does not quite make sense. The capacity has already shown itself. It does not need to be created from nothing. It is something already present, already part of the brain that is carrying you towards sleep tonight. The dream tonight, whatever it brings, will be yours alone, built from your memories, your emotions, your particular inner landscape. No two dreaming brains build the same world. Every dream is, in this sense, entirely original, a world that has never existed before and will never exist again. Something made, once, from the specific and irreplaceable material of your life. The practice continues in sleep, even now, as the day's thoughts thin and the night thickens around you. The dreaming brain is beginning its preparations. It does not need to be told. It already knows. Your only task is to let it happen, and perhaps, this time, to notice when it does. There is no endpoint to the practice of lucid dreaming. Each lucid dream is complete in itself, a single clear night among many ordinary ones, each equally valid, each part of the long, continuous relationship between the mind and its own sleep. The practice is not a destination. It is a way of traveling. In the end, lucid dreaming is not about controlling dreams. It is about trusting them enough to be present inside them. The awareness that makes a dream lucid is the same awareness that, in waking life, allows genuine presence, the quality of actually being here, inside this experience, rather than passing through it on the way to somewhere else. The gift of a lucid dream is not power over the night. It is intimacy with it. And that intimacy, like all the deepest things, begins simply with paying attention. And so, our quiet journey through the science of lucid dreaming comes to a gentle close. We began with the first laboratory verification of a dreamer's signal from inside a dream. Those deliberate eye movements recorded on an electroculograph in a sleep laboratory on the morning of April 12, 1975. One of the most remarkable moments in the history of sleep science. We traveled through the neuroscience of REM sleep, through the gentle methods of reality testing and MILD, through the early morning window when the dreaming brain is at its most vivid and most permeable. We learned that the practice of paying attention during the day is, itself, the preparation for awareness in the night. We ended in the simple truth that every person who has ever looked at their hands during a dream, or noticed something strange and asked, is this real, has already stood at the threshold this entire journey was moving toward. Lucid dreaming reminds us that the inner world is real, not in competition with waking reality, but alongside it, deeper than it, in some ways older than it. Most of the intelligence that keeps us alive and growing operates in silence. Without our guidance or permission, the dreaming brain is simply one expression of that deeper intelligence, doing its work every night, building worlds from the material of a life, processing and preparing, and occasionally, when the conditions are right, opening a window to let the waking mind look in. By pausing to notice, we glimpse the extraordinary in the ordinary, and the ordinary, looked at long enough, becomes extraordinary. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can, as deep as you can go. Think about awareness itself, yours, right now, in this moment, already beginning to soften and blur at its edges. Think about how that awareness has been present through every moment of your life, and how it continues during sleep in a different, quieter form. The dreaming mind, still watching, still weaving, still present in its own way. You are not separate from the night. You are part of it. Let your entire being dissolve into the space where waking and dreaming have no clear border, where awareness becomes the dream, and the dream holds awareness. No boundaries left, only the soft, receiving dark. Prepare for deep sleep. No edges remaining, only peace. If this gentle exploration of the dreaming mind helped you feel a little less alone in the dark tonight, perhaps pass it along to someone who lies awake, turning thoughts over. It might be exactly what their dreaming brain has been waiting for. One quiet chair, one sleepy soul at a time. The dreaming brain is still becoming tonight, without your effort, without your witness. You don't need to hold any of this. It was never yours to carry. You've traveled inward tonight, through corridors most people never pause to notice. You touched the architecture of your own sleeping mind and found it more patient, more generous, more capable than it perhaps appeared. You can allow these thoughts of lucid dreaming to fade now, like an image crossing the threshold of waking. Present one moment, softly gone the next, becoming simply part of the quiet that surrounds everything, leaving only the warm, still calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if the careful, invisible weight of sleep has finally settled over everything and is simply holding you. If sleep comes, let it carry you the way awareness moves through a dream, not arriving so much as simply being there, already, in the quiet, into a realm where time and weight no longer matter. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting for you, ready to continue the journey. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, the dreaming brain will still be there, still becoming, still finding its way to awareness in the night. But tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, gentle explorer. And remember, your mind has been finding its way home in sleep every night of your life. Good night.